Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. We have all the latest Cowboys rumors and news on today's show. And we're going to begin with a familiar face. That is wide receiver Cedrick Wilson. Report out of Miami says the Dolphins are open to trading Cedrick Wilson. To which I say, yeah, of course they are. That shouldn't surprise anyone. He signed a 3-year, $22+ million deal last offseason and then barely got on the football field for the Dolphins. He was not just behind Jalin Waddle, Tyreek Hill. He was out-snapped by Trent Sherfield. If you're going, wait, who? Exactly. Wilson was a really good wide receiver for Dallas, and I am down to have him back in that role at the right cost. And the cost is a significant problem as it relates to Ced Wilson's potential reunion in Dallas. Wilson is due $7 million this year. 7.3 in 2024. And by the way, he's got $5 million guaranteed this year. The Dolphins would only save about $1 million in the event they chose to cut him. Maybe $2 million if you structure it properly with a post-June 1. Well, actually, more post-June, but you're still eating the dead money next year, excuse me. I'm not paying Cedrick Wilson $7 million bucks. I have no interest in that. He's not worth $7 million. A guy that's had one highly productive season, that was 2021. Highly is maybe a bit of an emphasis point there because he had 602 yards. He played very well that season. He didn't do anything for Miami in 2022 and has barely 200-plus yards in 2020, 2019. We know what he can be. He can be a really good number 4, subbing for you when guys are hurt. He's better than Jalen Tolbert. He's way more proven than Devontae Turpin and Fehoko are. I feel fine if Cedrick Wilson is my wide receiver 4, but you've committed to Lamb, Cooks, and Gallup as your big 3. I see no reason to invest $7 million in Cedrick Wilson. That's recklessly poor investments at wide receiver 4. You're not doing that. So I'm not trading for Wilson at his current contract. Now, if the Dolphins want to eat some of that money, if they want to take that $7 million he's owed, bring it down to like 2, I would happily move a day 3 pick at that point. That is much more affordable and feasible than the Dolphins saying, well, we want someone to take $7 million off our hands for 200 yards even. That's not, no team's going to want to do that, and I don't do that either. So if Miami eats some money and or he gets cut, then yes, I would be down to bring Cedrick Wilson back to the Dallas Cowboys. I also don't know how likely of an outcome that ends up being. So that's the pinned comment on today's show. Do you want to bring Cedrick Wilson back to the Cowboys? Y for yes and for no. If the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. New day, new DeAndre Hopkins rumor. The report from Albert Breer is that the other NFL teams might end up cutting DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Arizona reportedly wanted a second-round pick, and no one appears to have shown anything resembling close interest at the cost. I think a big factor in that is the potential salary implications and the trade stuff that we will get into here. But this is exactly what Albert Breer said on was Greg Bedard's show, his podcast, the quote of it. Some teams think the Cardinals are going to cut him. They think the Cardinals will wind up cutting him. His market is not great right now. There's nobody who's willing to take on Hopkins' contract and pay the Cardinals' initial asking price. That would be the second-round pick and $20+ million this year. So we will come back to DeAndre Hopkins, but are you tired of struggling with bad habits? Cold turkey might be great for sandwiches, but there's a better way to break free from those pesky habits, and it doesn't involve weird mind voodoo or any bizarre tactics. Our sponsor, Fume, an innovative award-nominated device that helps you kick the bad habits to the curb by focusing on the good parts. Fume is all about embracing the natural. It's not electronic, and instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Best of all, it's free of harmful chemicals and packed with delicious, all-natural flavors. The adjustable airflow dial, movable parts, and magnets make it perfect for fidgeting, which can help alleviate stress and anxiety while you break your habit. I wasn't sure what to expect at first, but I was pleasantly surprised by the taste, feel, and look of Fume. Breaking a bad habit can be tough, but with Fume, it's easy, enjoyable, and even fun. With over 100,000 customers and countless success stories, there's no reason why you can't be next. Start your journey towards a healthier lifestyle with the Journey Pack from Fume. Visit tryfume.com/chatsports and use code chatsports for 10% off when you purchase the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com/chatsports. And don't forget to use code chatsports for 10% off your order. Links in the comment section and in the description of today's video. The sheer lack of DeAndre Hopkins is really curious to me. The second-round pick trade value in a bubble actually makes some sense. I think there's two big things teams are concerned about. Number one, the production has declined a little bit. Now, injuries, missed time, a significant factor in that whole conversation. Hopkins, the last 16 is actually still pretty good, but he's approaching the wrong side of 30, and I think the money is an issue. I know there was a report that Hopkins was adjustable on his contract. The lack of interest makes me wonder how, if that was what I thought of, Hopkins would be a top 3 paid receiver. He wants to be a top 10 paid receiver. He's due a lot of money, $21.7 million this year, $17.2 next year. That is a significant amount of money from that standpoint. So if Hopkins gets cut, it's a different conversation. That, I think, might intrigue the Cowboys a little bit more. I still think somebody else ends up making a move for him. So be honest with me. What is the percent chance the Dallas Cowboys bring in DeAndre Hopkins? Sound off with that percentage for me in the comment section of today's video. Some draft conversation now as Zay Flowers is in the Cowboys today, and this is a archetypal change, threshold change for this Dallas Cowboys team. Flowers is undersized. He is not a very big football player. We're talking 5'9 and a quarter, 182, 29 and a quarter inch arms. That is far below the Cowboys' more typical thresholds, even though he did play outside plenty at Boston College. Only about a third of his snaps were in the slot there. He's one of several visits being reported so far. We'll break some more of those down here in a little bit, but the size is not big. In general, it is a small wide receiver class. These guys are not that big. It's a bunch of guys who are 5'10 at most, in the 180s at the most. It's an outlier class from that perspective. But Zay Flowers was very productive at Boston College, despite, probably not the best production in his time there. Two other visits I do want to make note of. Jalin Hyatt, who is bigger. He was not as big as people thought. He is bigger. He's 6 foot. Size matters. This year's class, it's not a very big class. That's how it goes. He was listed like 6'2". He's actually 6 foot, 176. But he's fast as hell. He kind of was in a unique offense, Tennessee, where they just we're going to stack you, get your free release, go outrun everybody. And it worked. It worked every time they did it. He was the Blitnikoff Award winner this year. And Trenton Simpson, who was also somewhat of an undersized player, but he's kind of more of that new age off-ball linebacker who can cover weak side linebacker style there. 6'2" and change, 235. Smaller guys on that list there. Now, we will have an entire Cowboys draft visit tracker for you guys at some point this week. More names still to come out soon. If you want that and all the latest Cowboys news, rumors, and more, then make sure you are subscribed. One free agency rumor here before we go. That is Dalton Risner. Bleacher Report named the Cowboys the best landing spot for Risner, which I guess they watched our ideal free agency video because we had Risner on that list. I am surprised how little of a market Risner's had so far. And we're kind of at the point where you've got less than a month before the NFL draft. He might be best served waiting until after, seeing what teams don't get a starting caliber left guard. Then he can go sign there, maybe a one-year deal, start, hit free agency again next year. Risner did struggle a bit last year. He wasn't as good as he'd been in the past. I was chalking that up to, hey, the Broncos' offense was a dumpster fire. I can't blame them too much there. There was some bad coaching, despite how people might spin it, the friends of Nathaniel Hackett and media. But he was not great. The offense was a mess. I would, if for example, you can't get a guard in round 1, 2, 3, whatever, I got no issues adding Risner. Because then this is your best 5 Right now, there's the buzz of the Cowboys view Tyler Smith at just left tackle. In that case, left guard's a pretty big need for you. If you're not going to play Tyron at left tackle, Tyler at left guard, you plug Risner in there, and I think we all feel a lot better about that Cowboys offensive line. So name a free agent you guys want to sign. Could be a Risner, could be somebody else altogether. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now.